You're back on another episode of One Take, and I have one of my guys with me, Mr. Frederick James. And those of you that don't know, this platform is to learn more about the person behind the brand, behind the business, behind the entrepreneur. And it's fun and exciting. And if you have anybody out there that wants to get on the show, please let me know. I am Ty with Together is Everything, and this is Mr. Frederick James, and you're now on the episode of One Take, and we're just gonna go from here. So, Mr. Fred.
Yes, sir.
I've known you about a year and a half now, and we've had some amazing conversations about business, entrepreneurship, just life in general, and I always appreciate and respect it. I'm glad for you to be here on the show with me.
Yes. Thanks for inviting me.
Oh yeah, of course. So if you can, you could tell the people, a little bit about yourself and, where you're from.
Okay. Yes, I'm Frederick James. I'm here in Durham, North Carolina, where I am from. Grew up in a little part of town called Walltown. Lived there for about 18 years before coming to the Hardy Street area. Went to Durham High School. Whoop, whoop for the Bulldogs. Attended North Carolina State University for electrical engineering. Decided I wouldn't finish, so I went to work for Nortel. Stayed there for about 5 years and decided to go back to school, and I went to the school of my choice. When I graduated from high school, my dad said that if I wanted to go to A&T, that I could pay for it, and if I went to NC State, he'd pay for it.
Oh, wow.
Not much of a choice at all.
No,
so
that's right.
Then I moved to Greensboro, got a job there working for a small outfit, family-owned company, and went to school at North Carolina A&T.
Oh, okay.
And landed a job out at General Electric in Mebane and worked there for about 8 years before getting completely tired of corporate America. Went into business with a friend of mine who had some assisted living facilities. So I managed an assisted living facility out in rural North Carolina, out in Reidsville.
Okay.
Did an amazing job according to the company. So they brought me back to Durham, and then that was probably a mistake bringing me home. And so I got out of that business and went into insurance, and from insurance a little bit of financial advice, and got into a couple of stock market classes, and from that back to corporate America, but this time on a contractual basis. So I have my own company.
Oh, you have your own company. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, if you don't mind, can you tell us a little bit about your company, how it started, where the inspiration come from, what you do on your day-to-day?
Well, the company is really a spinoff from what I do. Well, I started working this last stint with corporate America with a contractual company, and after moving back to North Carolina, we know that the rules are that once you're back close to home, that there are some tax benefits that you lose you lose some money on. So my per diem went down to zero, and I said, well, this isn't going to work because I really like the benefits of the per diem, and so they just suggested to me starting my own company, and then I was able to take advantage of those funds. And that's what I did. So that's really how this last company got started.
Oh, okay. So what do you do?
I write test plans for any engineering changes, any some of the equipment upgrades. If they change anything that affects the quality of the product that they produce, I'll write a test plan so that they can prove out that this new process is consistent and that it delivers the level of quality that they need, because these are FDA regulated sites, so they have to be able to prove with documentation that their stuff works.
Oh, wow. How long you say you've been doing that?
14 years.
14 years.
Yeah, the longest time I've done any particular job besides like music.
I know, that's right. I mean, that's a blessing. I mean, that's something that you really like doing. You can do it for that long,
Yeah.
Especially
if
you're good at it.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, we're gonna give some of the people that's watching a little bit more in depth about who you are.
Yeah.
I have a few questions for you, kind of get your brain going. Let's see. So if you could choose one word that best describes you, what would you say?
Adaptable.
Adaptable? Why that?
Because I have worked in a lot of different industries. Growing up in Durham, my neighborhood was a good neighborhood, but it was also we had our difficulties as just being in a neighborhood that it wasn't very transient, but our people had some things, and to experience the arguments and some of the things that would happen amongst our people. But I mean, they eventually made up. Nothing like it is today, where people drive by and shoot at each other. But then the contrast was that my family in Pittsburgh, where my mom is from, there was hardly ever any. I'm sure there was some, but never to the extent like I saw in the city. So it was kind of like being in the city. We played in the park and did all that stuff, shot basketball. Well, in the country, it was about gardening and fishing and riding on the back of a truck and having fun. Things that we didn't do in the city.
Okay, well, adaptable. That's a good word. I never heard that one before. Being able to like be efficient in any area that you're in.
Yes.
You could get put in any different situation and you can come out successful. That's amazing.
Yeah, and even looking at my work background, finance, mechanical assembly, supervisory. Now it's a quality engineering type role where I have to take more of the lead, and then doing some training and. Not to mention the stuff that I didn't talk about, pastoring a church and all that.
Oh, you have a bunch of hats.
Absolutely.
Yeah, a bunch of hats. Okay. Well, that's interesting. We might talk about the being a pastor later on. I got to hear some things about that. Okay. So one other question I have for you is kind of off the wall. So if you ever thought about, a spirit animal, like what do you feel like, what animal out there in the jungle in the world you think best represent you?
Oh wow, that's funny that you asked that, because I actually study spirit animals. That's a good question, because I identify with a whole lot of them.
If one of them pretty much sticks out, you said adaptable. Anything that kind of stems off that you could think of.
Right now, I'm more inclined to say my sign, the lion.
Lion?
Yeah. I'm learning to right now it's really important that I stand in my own. A part of my adaptability has been that I've been able to go along with other people's plans, other people's businesses, other people's visions, and now I gotta stand in my own, and even if it means standing still.
Exactly.
Yeah, and roaring. Just to
the
lion is present. I don't have to do anything else right now. I just need to roar a little bit.
I like that one.
Yeah, that's where I am now.
Okay, I like that, the lion, because the lions, you see a lion, and you automatically know what's up.
Yes,
you already know. Natural born leader, and when people see you, you are respected. So I do appreciate that.
Absolutely.
The lion. Okay. One other question I got for you is, you have a lot. You've worn a lot of hats, and you have a lot of experiences. What's something that you would tell your 18-year-old self? Like, what's an experience or what's some advice that you would tell your younger self?
Learn to be more adept or acceptable to delayed gratification.
Touch on that a little bit.
Instant gratification, wanting to have the money, wanting to have the position, wanting to be in leadership, or wanting to be out front. Wait on those things. Develop in the background, and be so appreciative of the background. Be so just make yourself at home in the background when you have the ability to be in the background. That was one of the things that pastoring a church kind of took away from me. I was able to go to places and sit in the back and nobody cared. But then once you take on this title, and it even happened with leadership in corporate America, the low levels of leadership that I had, but still you were a leader. And I mean, once you were called to the forefront, you were held responsible for this atmosphere. You know, when you're the pastor of a church, you go in, and the way you sit could mess somebody's perception of the service up. I mean, the way you talk, or just all kinds of stuff. Enjoy the background. Enjoy developing in the background, and learn as much as you possibly can in the background. And save your money when you're in the background. Save your resources. Do not use your resources to get out front. If your gift doesn't take you out front, don't use your resources. Stay in the background. If it costs you money to get out front, I mean, some investments are necessary. But if that's the basis of you being out front is your money or your pizzazz or all that, no, stay in the background.
Stay in the background.
Stay in the background.
So natural born leaders will just gravitate to the front anyway. Gotcha.
Absolutely.
Gotcha. That's a good
real leader can lead from the back.
Exactly. I tell people all the time, like, you don't always have to be the front face person all the time.
Right.
Let your skill set, who you are, your journey, what God called you to do, let that flourish.
Absolutely. Now, something Simon Sinek said the other day that I saw in a video about leaders, one of the things a leader does have to do, you have to be the first to go forward. Like if there's a new project or something new, you got to take leadership. The leader, what separates a leader from the rest of the group is that they're willing to take the risk first. And that right there puts you, in your leader. If that doesn't put you in your leadership position, you got the wrong people following.
Exactly. That's a good perspective. The leaders always have to take the hit first, the risk.
Yes.
And, the people behind them, they'll either learn from it or they'll be able, the leader is always the person who can direct and build confidence in their village and make sure the people are on track to get to where they need to be.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's boy, I'd probably say that to my 18-year-old self for real. To not get hung up by the mistakes that you make in taking risks. It's your natural position because you are a natural born leader. That's what I would tell myself now. Because I used to make a lot of mistakes and I would get scolded for being goofy or silly. But I was taking a chance. And even with money and investments, and I've even as of late made some investments that I was like, I would love to retract. But after I heard Simon Sinek say that, and then now that I know that the universe rewards you regardless, if that thing didn't work out, so what? You didn't spend your money, you didn't waste it, you circulate it. And I'll say that for our viewing audience. You don't waste money, you don't spend money, you circulate it. So when you circulate it into something that doesn't seem like it's going to pay you, you did it in honesty and integrity, the universe will pay you back in some way. And it's going to, more than likely, if it doesn't come from that source, that means that it's got a better source. It's going to come back double, triple, quadruple, quintuple, all of them.
Yeah, I know, that's right. Sheesh, I needed to hear that. I needed to hear that for myself. I appreciate that. That's an interesting perspective.
Yes,
man.
I've seen it happen more than once.
Oh yeah, because sometimes I'm just being honest and transparent. Sometimes you can get caught up on the instant gratification or putting your energy or your time and your efforts in this area, and you're just looking for something back. And sometimes it's not meant for you to get anything back right then and there. It's meant for you to plant your seed and wait and keep growing until you get to that point. I got
Absolutely. You. And always remember, if you're not enough without it, you're not going to be enough with it.
I got to come back and record that one. I got to write that one down. I'm coming back to that one. That's a good one. Okay. Well, I got one more question for you that you can answer for me. So if there was one thing about the world that you would change, what would it be and why?
Well, in my spiritual practice, what I've learned is absolutely nothing that I would change about the world, because the world that I live in is really created right here.
That's a good perspective.
I create my own world. If I had one magic pill for the world that we live in that would make it palatable to everybody, it would be 7 billion pills, because it would take that many for each person to actually perceive the world as a better place, because it's everybody's perspective. So for me, it's just changing me to be able to see the world that I'm in the and I wouldn't say I'm perfectly there, but to see the world that I'm in as a work in progress.
Mm-hmm.
And myself in it as also a work in progress. And to, the thing that upsets people or gets them off kilter is not what they presently see. It's actually what they predict with their minds from what they see.
Exactly.
So they can't get mad at a person for making a statement until they internalize it and say, this did something to me even in my next step. Because if it's just here, somebody passes you on the highway that you never known before, you never seen before, and they stick up their middle finger and they turn off the highway and go wherever they're going. Who cares?
Right.
They're not going to affect me. I'm going in this direction.
Mm-hmm.
But when you think that person may get back on the highway, or you see a car that looks like theirs, and you see a facade that looks like them, you're like, oh my God, there's that person again. Yeah. So there's nothing about this world I would change.
You'll be surprised how many people out there kind of think like that. The road rage. Oh, somebody cuts them off and they instantly get mad, or whatever the case may be. Or
I used to be one of them.
Okay.
I used to be one of them.
Yeah.
And now I just kind of laugh. And I'm with the way that the world is now. You have to be a little bit more defensive in some of that. For instance, I was riding in South Carolina, and this guy, I don't know what move I made because I thought I was on the road by myself. Maybe I cut him off or cut in front of him or something. And he drove up beside me, and then he drove, he looked at me real funny, and he drove up in front of me and got over, and he started putting on brakes. So I went over in the next lane, and he got over in the next lane, and I moved back, and he kept doing it, and I was like, okay. So at that point, you make a decision. What kind of car is he driving? Oh, please. Next round, when I got in the next lane, I let him see the tags on the back of my car for about 2 seconds. And I made a decision. I'm going to put enough space between us that you will not get the opportunity to do this to me again. Or if he had been driving something faster than mine, I'd have just got off.
That's an interesting perspective to put that in a more mindful perspective. Given if something happens to you in the world, or if something is going on and it bothers you, or you don't want it to affect your peace, right? You have to put your space in between it so it won't bother you, don't get to you. And that's something I'm learning now, especially a lot of this year, especially with COVID and all the other type stuff. Recognizing when something is not for you, or recognizing when something is aggravating you, or putting you in a mood that you don't want to be in. Right. You might have to put some space between you and that person, or you and that business deal, or you and that whatever the case may be, to set you apart. And it may be a close friend, it could be a family member, it could be whoever. Anybody that disrupts your peace ain't supposed to be around you.
Right. And do some self introspection and find out what is it about what they did that stuck to you, because whatever it was, it's in you.
Right.
Nothing can stick to you unless it finds a root. There's got to be some type of identifier. And nothing happens to us or around us that is not trying to develop us.
Right.
We came here to develop and have fun. I think you and I were watching Esther Hicks earlier. Yeah, everything. This life is supposed to be fun, and when it's not fun, then we got to check our personal beliefs and see, who have I given my power to?
Exactly.
So and that's why I said I wouldn't change the world. I didn't give them my power. I took my power back.
That's a good one. That's a good one, because people who, make you manipulate yourself or how you feel, they have power over you. If they dictate how you feel, and if they can dictate, if you're not confident anymore, or if you have confidence, if people can dictate and come and go as they please in your life, they have done a lot of power over you.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, well, yeah, man, this is some good stuff right here.
Yes,
I like
it is.
But yeah, that's pretty much it for the questions I had. I did want to play a quick game, probably take about 30 seconds. It's pretty much this or that.
Okay.
And I want to see where you're gonna go with it.
All right.
Nothing too crazy for right now. So, if you had to choose, hot dog or hamburger?
Hamburger.
Summer or winter?
Summer.
Hug or kiss?
Hug.
Food or drink?
Drink.
To hear or to see?
To see.
Christmas or Thanksgiving? That's a good one.
Pagan holidays. Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving for sure.
Thanksgiving. Okay.
Yeah, just take it in the context of the holidays. Yeah.
Cake or pie?
Pie.
Travel in a car or travel in a plane?
Plain.
Coffee or tea?
Tea.
Beach or mountains?
Ooh. Beach.
TV shows or movies?
Movies.
Crowd or alone?
Alone.
Alone? Okay.
Mhm.
Those are some good ones too. I learned a lot about you with that right there. Okay. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much, all I have for you right now. But one thing I do want to touch back on, like your experience of, all the hats that you've worn and then becoming a pastor. Like, what were some of what you can speak on respectfully? What are some of the things that kind of made you, I would say, think how you felt about Christianity, spirituality? Like, was there any situations that kind of made you feel up or down or left or right becoming a pastor and then after?
It was in my blood to a certain degree as a leader. I grew up in church. My dad was a pastor. Mm-hmm. And after I saw, and it was not that he had a bad life as a pastor. There were just some things. I was a little bit more carefree and felt like life just should be, as I believe now, life should be blissful. Mm-hmm. And even though we go through challenges, it's only to develop and to grow and expand what you've already built on, or whatever you already have established. Is to expand, and it may even be to modify it to a certain degree so it can grow, like pruning a tree so that it can grow new limbs. But once I saw what he went through, my childlike mind said no. Then I learned not just the traditional Christian principles, but I learned some other things that traditional Christianity, one of my friends taught me that is not traditional. It's just it's more of our slave master theology. But we'll just call it, for the sake of the conversation, traditional, because sometimes when we say slave master theology, people get upset. So the traditional Christianity that we've learned here, our American black experience as Christians, it really employed a lot of suffering, a lot of waiting for another realm to appear, or for this person to come back out of the sky, take us to another land, and we're going to go somewhere else. Mm-hmm. Where it clearly says in that same book that after all of this destruction that everybody's waiting on, and this collusion of wars and rumors of wars and all that stuff that has become cliche-ish, it says clearly in the Bible that God's kingdom will be spread abroad in the earth. So wherever this place that everybody's trying to go, nobody's in a hurry to get there. Everybody's exercising and trying to eat right so they can stay here. So while you're here, while we're making all that effort to stay here, we should enjoy it.
Enjoy it while you're here.
Absolutely. And so I thought that by becoming the leader, I could actually move a group of people in that direction. I mean, I already had my friends that believed that way, but they didn't want to have anything to do with the traditional church. They didn't want to go. They didn't want to sit through the weight of hymns and songs that talked about how bad we were, or how hard it was to get along, or trouble in my way, or down and laden and all. They didn't want to hear all that. They didn't want to hear we're gonna make a way. The Lord's gonna make a way somehow. Matter of fact, I was at a church and the organist stopped the thing and he said, "Oh, we don't believe in that." He said, "No, the Lord has already made a way." And they were talking about we'll understand it better by and by. He was like, "Oh, no, we understand it now."
Oh man,
yeah. So that was really it, and it was a culmination of going through the traditional teachings, seeing that it didn't work, that I didn't feel like it worked. What it worked for at that time.
Okay.
And when people were trying to get out from under a slave master's whip just so that they could drink water out of the same water fountain, those things, it was okay because that didn't offer a threatening message to those that were listening. We're not trying to take over. Because if we start saying, we shall overcome today, wait a minute, hold up, that's a threat.
Yeah.
But someday, there is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, but ain't no someday. So there ain't a threat.
Gotcha.
Y'all will still be docile and waiting someday. But when you say we shall overcome today, wait a minute, that sounds like action.
Action. Man, I ain't thinking about it like that. Okay.
So I got into pastoring, thinking or wishing and hoping and building on the fact that I thought and I foresaw, and God showed me it's gonna happen. That was practice. And then the people, there was some that did move and did go, and they were very prosperous and they were very happy, and they were, they were very strong supporters. I'll just say that they were very strong supporters, and the group that I was, the church that I was at, was able to see how we were able to take the resources that we had. It was unheard of for a group that small to totally remodel a building. They already had a new sanctuary. They remodeled an entire building that I was afraid to go in. Some of them were afraid to go in because of snakes, and they were scared they're gonna fall through the floor.
Oh, wow.
Turned it into a dining hall that everybody wanted to see. And no loan from the bank.
No loan from the bank.
Debt free.
It's amazing what you can do with the right leader.
Amazing.
It's amazing what you can do with the
And
right
I
leader.
don't take credit because they worked hard, but my father had taught me as a leader, there's sacrifices that you make. And when you make those sacrifices, the God of the universe, he didn't say it like that, I say it like that. The God of the universe will honor your sacrifice. And you're not, and some people hate the word sacrifice. It's an investment. You're investing in your own vision when you go without temporary gratification so that you can get that long term. There again, that some folks need that instant gratification, whether it be on a job or whatever. They go in the front door wanting to be the supervisor.
Want to be the supervisor, yeah.
Or the manager. And it takes time. And the thing of it is that as I was listening to T.D. Jakes the other day, it's not that your blessing or that the thing that you want is not here. Are you prepared for it? A lot of people want to live in a big house, but do you want that $10,000-$15,000 a year tax bill and you crying about $800 taxes on your house now? Do you want to know what the property tax is on a Bentley when you go to get your license renewed and get your new tag, get your little sticker to put on the back, and they hit you with that property tax bill of about $5,000?
Yeah.
And that $5,000 represents now what you pay for a whole year in your car payments.
Seriously.
Yeah.
You'll be surprised who don't know that, though. And even I've tried to, even not having a conversation with you, I try to educate myself on things like that, because we all see the glitz and the glamour on social media about the cars, the house, and all that type of stuff, but people don't realize what goes into it and the maintenance and what keeps it.
Absolutely. I complained when I got I got an old Mercedes. I had two of them, and I was like, wait a minute, hold up, the tax still this much? I want the car to keep its value, but I'm like, it shouldn't be that valuable to y'all.
Man, that's amazing. Have you ever thought about writing a book?
I've worked on a couple, and as a matter of fact, since you said that, I didn't plan this. We didn't plan this, y'all.
It's one take.
But
whatever happens.
This is a book that it was 44 black men.
Okay.
Wrote a book, Letters to Our Brothers, and it was so crazy. The guy that started it tried to get more people to write in the book and wound up on the number 44, and it was the year that Barack Obama was leaving office.
Oh, wow.
So we thought that was significant, and we got the 44. So I worked on this one, and I got a couple of other books in the works. I was afraid to publish them because I was in church, and I know a lot of people knew me in church, and some of the things that I would say was going to be offensive. Just even me talking about trouble in my way. I mean, in the traditional church, people would say, "We're gonna sing it anyway," and I was like, "Yeah, but you're singing yourself into a conniption."
Why do you say that?
Because they say, "Well, everybody's got trouble." Yeah, but you don't want to make a song about it. And it's the same thing with rap music. When I ask about some of the gangster rap and all the stuff, and the guy was telling me, well, we want to tell people what's going on in our hood. I said, and it is going to continue to go on in your hood because you're perpetuating it with your music. Because now people that don't even know nothing about that experience now are taking on those vibes. And as we vibrate, as he thinks in his heart, so is he.
Well, I never thought about it like that. If you know the people who try to express themselves about what's going on, you're actually bringing the energy to let people know what's going on, and then it's kind of a perspective of a double-edged sword. You're trying to help, but sometimes it can hurt depending on how you deliver it.
And the key word you said there was perspective,
Mm-hmm.
because one person's perspective is that this killing and shooting and looting is going on. Another person's perspective is that the effects of slavery has now grown or manifested as this, and the solution is not to go out and just like this defunding the police. Well, why don't we put ourselves in a position where we take the $1 trillion that we get out of the economy, buy land? They don't do landowners like that. Once you own it, and I know some people say, well, there's some landowners, because I know Tyler Perry was talking about he got stopped. True, but once they find out it's Tyler Perry, that don't last long.
All right.
Okay, the Oprah Winfrey, I was watching the video talking about she was over in Italy, and they wouldn't sell her a pocketbook. And once they found out about the Oprah Winfrey show, they said, oh no, everybody, champagne for everyone.
Yeah, okay,
you know,
okay.
so once we become landowners, and once we start not only just buying the land, but putting our candidates in the office. Because see, now if you're putting candidates in the office, just like we're showing the common man getting shot, if we start putting enough of our candidates in the office and they start doing some of the things that they did, like with the riots out in Tulsa and the burning down that they did in Wilmington, North Carolina, and even here in Durham when they built the highway through. If we owned all that land, no, you're not going to build a highway through, because now we're going to put our folks in the office that's going to vote against that.
Gotcha. And that's what needs to be educated. We need to create a bigger platform to pretty much educate all of us on that. The
Absolutely.
more we know about that, the more we can make, moves and projects together than trying to do it on our own. Yeah.
Absolutely. And even I don't know if Corey will get to see this. Corey, I can't think of your last name, but if you get to see this, there's a guy, his first name is Corey, and I met him at Black Wall Street. He created a black Facebook, and it was called Turner's Network or something like that. And I'm going to go through my phones and see if I can find his number. But we need that so that we don't get put in Facebook jail for saying stuff that's germane or that's meaningful to our community and that we need to hear. We need to have our own platform. And I'll tell Mark Zuckerberg and the rest of his lawyers to their face, there's enough business out here for all of us. So don't come after us about that. This is a platform for us. You paying people now to get off of Facebook for the election because they know that Facebook does have some influence and we're on there. They know that the common or the popular message with this current person in office is not popular. He's not running a popularity contest by any stretch of the imagination at this point. He is fighting for attention. And that is that's a whole nother level.
Yeah, we could go next episode with that one.
We gotta go. I'm telling you, please
go next
be
episode
back on
with that
again.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. I don't want to take too much of your time. It's a little bit past the time, but it's all good. But yeah, we definitely have to do a second episode.
Absolutely.
We can touch on a lot of those topics because I'm pretty sure the audience want to hear from a different perspective, and we can actually talk about your book. We could talk about different ways we can kind of help each other.
Absolutely.
So I appreciate
I look forward
you.
to that.
Once again, it's Ty. You on a show One Take. This is an episode with Frederick James. You will see this episode on YouTube. You can follow me. Together is Everything on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. My personal page is Mr. Robinson _13. Feel free to check it out. Comment, like, subscribe on YouTube. Together is Everything, and I appreciate it. Frederick, did you have any last words for us?
My last words are go and be yourself, enjoy yourself, build yourself, talk to yourself, inspect yourself, because if you cover yourself, then nobody else will have to cover you.
Powerful words. Frederick James, Ty, thank you, and until next time.